Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Funky Marketing Show. Today I have the pleasure to host Pragya Mishra from Shield. We're going to talk about organic marketing. We're going to talk about LinkedIn, obviously, designing marketing campaigns for word of mouth, and what it's like to do marketing for the early stage startups. So I'm playing the intro, and then Pragya is joining me, and we can go all in about all these topics. Here we are again. Pragya, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Let's present you for the start. How are you presenting yourself these days?
Yeah, I usually start with my name as one would. So, hi everybody, I'm Pragya Mishra, and thank you so much for inviting me. I think this is going to be an interesting conversation. As I heard your introductions, of course, as you know, I head the marketing for Shield, which is a LinkedIn analytics company. And what we essentially do is if you're a content creator on LinkedIn, you can use Shield to track all your metrics, see all your data, what's happening, what kind of growth are you getting, who is your audience, and kind of get deeper understanding into your LinkedIn growth with the help of Shield. So I try to help spread the word and do some good work over there.
Sounds good. And I guess it's not easy. I mean, growing thing organically and on a platform where, I mean, I don't know, you're going to tell me if they're competitors, but at the moment you are the go-to company for analytics related to the LinkedIn. And building stuff and having the feedback from each person on LinkedIn. I guess that's something.
Absolutely. No, it's not easy also from the sense, but in some way it is easy because when you're working for a startup that we are lucky to have customers who really love us. So it's easy for us to get feedback instantly and feedback of any kind, whether it's good feedback on what we're doing or things that our customers want us to do more of. So it's good that we keep releasing a lot of new things and keep getting feedback from our customers that we can then we're in a position to incorporate it and listen to a lot of people because we're still pretty small team.
Yeah, we're going to dive into all of that, but for starters, what I'm interested is how would you define organic marketing today?
Yeah, I think it's a term that has evolved quite a lot over the last, even in the last 1 year already, especially in the last 3 years. And what we're seeing now is when you as a person or as a company create content, talk about different things, whatever, whether it's your services or it's the industry that you're in, the space that you're occupying, your customers' pain points, the solution that you're providing. When you talk about that from a personal perspective on social media, and you're able to kind of get an audience to listen to you and respect your word or have a conversation with you, you organically get to grow. Then you spread the word, you get more and more people because of the content that you're creating, and that kind of spreads the whole message. So yeah, we are trying to do all of that. So it's anything that when you create content that you don't put an ad money on is essentially organic.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Basically, anything can be, organic marketing. But it's interesting how it is evolving. It can be just posting, it can be community, it can be word of mouth. So the dark funnel, things we don't see. So it's
Absolutely.
developing in a lots of different places at the same time.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that especially with organic marketing is that uh, you can try to design how many views, how many people will you reach, but at the end of the day, it's the message that's so important, that if your message is authentic and it's relevant for the audience, it's only then that it will kind of succeed in getting to more and more people. So organic marketing is still very authentic. I feel it's still very hard to shove it in front of a lot of people's faces unless it really resonates and adds value to them.
Yeah, basically we go back to the beginnings, right? If you set up the basics right, then you are basically equipped to go. So knowing your audience, knowing who you're talking about, and actually having a story and a narrative and a point of view within that narrative, right? Those are some
Absolutely.
things that I think necessary for actually having the chance to build word of mouth.
Absolutely. And I think that's where the what you just mentioned, that knowing your audience, that is such a key component of what we do, not just at Shield, but what we do as a team. That every time we're trying to talk to our audience, whether it's on LinkedIn or on Twitter or through a message or through an email campaign, you have to really know who you're talking to. Why should they listen to you right now? Why should they listen to you in a particular format, in a particular channel? And your message has to be designed in a way that is exactly what the customer needs. You don't design the message because that's how you want to send it. You should design the message basis on what your audience wants.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think we need to talk about it more and more because even today in 2022 there are still companies that you know they talk about marketing, about content, about everything inside the company, and then don't let the customers decide what's good or bad, and then not much of it comes out, and basically it's where they die at that moment.
Yeah, and I think because it's also going back, like you said, to going back to the basics. It's about a conversation. It's no longer a one-way broadcast where
Mhm.
you're a television and you're showing something and people on the other end are watching without interacting. So going forward, the world will be built of marketing, especially will be built on interactive audiences. That means your audience interacts with you, you interact with your audience. So it is not a one-way street at all. That's why it's so important to know who you're doing. Like if you meet someone on the street, you're not going to keep talking in a monologue and then say, okay, I'm leaving now. It's the same principle that applies.
Yeah, I always use Netflix and Airbnb as like the main examples for that because they go halfway to meet the customers. They don't wait for customers to come to them. And basically, the way I see it, they are starting the movement because other brands will also have to embrace it. Because people will not be okay. I'm having this experience with Netflix. I'm having this experience with Airbnb, and now I'm gonna go back to the experience that I had before, which was the bad one, and just not demand for other brands to have the same experience when I am in contact with them. And basically, it moves the whole industry forward.
Absolutely. And customers always learn with good experiences and expect the same from everybody else. I think it's very hard now. For instance, I live in Denmark, and it's very hard to call up a public service, whether it's any kind of a government office, and not have a callback option. So if you have a queue, they give you the option to press a button and then they call you back. So it's something that you expect because that's the norm here. And more, the whole idea of waiting on a phone or waiting for 1 week for someone to respond, all of these are going to become dated as each and every week and month and year passes.
Exactly, exactly. I remember like it was 2 or 3 years ago. Like I was working in an agency, and we were working with a company that sells garage doors. And
Mhm.
basically, the whole thing that we were doing, it was lead generation. Basically, we were providing qualified leads. So the only thing that was from the company to do is to call them and to close the deal. Basically everything, because we had the type of the doors, the color of the doors, where they are, also how much money do they have. And what was interesting is that most of the leads convert late at night or early in the morning. So we kind of figure out that that's where wives are sleeping and men are having time to go through those things. And if somebody at 3 in the morning or 5 in the morning leaves you the phone number to reach out to him, you should do that immediately because they are looking out and giving out their phone number so you can call them. And then like it was a week. the week passed and we reach out to the company and say, hey, are the leads good? What's happening? How many of them did you close? They were like, oh, we didn't do anything yet. We thought to wait a little bit, and then we'll send them the message, next week. And I was like, you should do that yesterday.
Absolutely. No, it's important to, like you said, it's important to know when the customer is ready to buy something, and it's also important not to sell at all the touch points. It's so important to know,
Mm-hmm.
to push people down the funnel of educating them, to make them understand, do they even, to give them the time to assess if your service is right for them or not. So not all customers are good customers. You need to know when a customer is actually ready to buy your services, because there is no win here if you sell to a customer who's not ready, because then it's just going to end up in churn. So that's why it's so important that, especially going back to organic content, organic marketing, it's important to talk about the benefits and why is it that a service is good for a customer. Because then when they understand the benefit and they feel like, okay, this is really good for me and this is good for me now, they will come to you without you having to go to them.
Yeah, agreed. So let's dive into that. I'm interesting to see how did you design actually the whole strategy for the Shield, and what are your focuses? Because I see lots of people from the company active on LinkedIn, even on Twitter, like sharing their point of view, sharing some things. Some of them more personal, some of them related to what you guys are doing. So tell me, what's the story behind it?
So I think it's at Shield we are all very aligned in the sense of course it's like birds of a feather flock together. So we all really believe in the power of organic content on LinkedIn. Of course, it's directly related to the business we're in, but apart from that, we're all seeing great benefits from our own personal brands, for our own personal brands, by posting actively and consistently on LinkedIn. So I started, for instance, started posting a year back, and it's just been under a year. I went from almost less than 500 connections or something to almost 16,000 followers, and it's it all adds up. Not just the number of followers, because that's just a number that you can make something out of or not. But what's important is that you're able to, when you have an audience, you're able to get your message across, you're able to talk to more people, you're able to make your point heard in a wider audience, and you're more available to people. So we're all seeing all of these things, and then of course there are the benefits. Like, for instance, if I was a nobody on LinkedIn, you would have probably not seen me. We would not be having this conversation. I got my job at Shield because I was creating content on LinkedIn even before I joined Shield. So there is a lot of opportunity for both the person and the company that you represent when you create content. And we see that live examples of all of us, whether it's Filippo from our team, or if it's Andreas, who's actually the CEO, who's been leading the kind of movement up front. So he's been leading it by posting, by building his own personal brand, and then it trickles down to us, where we also see the same benefits of the entire upside of it. And the strategy that we have around that is, of course, we don't have it's not that, we say that, okay, now everybody has to post once a day and there is no way around it. It's more of a mindset that, we lead by example. So when new people join the team and they see that, okay, Pragya is posting and there's so much so many good things that happen because of it, maybe I should try as well. So we lead by example. We help our team, especially when it comes to content. So there is always, we kind of give them templates that, okay, we do host small workshops, that how can you create better content, get them to understand their audience, the topics that they would like to talk about, and give them the tools to succeed in their own content plan. And of course, we have this kind of a buddy program thing where you can pick somebody that you want to share your content with if you're not sure before you post it, and then get some feedback. So we have a lot of these small initiatives inside the team that we always try to help newcomers into the team to get onto the posting and creating more content on LinkedIn.
No, I love that, because we are educating teams how to use LinkedIn in their advantage. And I think one reason that can make or break that thing is the leader. and his behavior or her
Absolutely.
behavior. Is if they lead by example and get into doing that thing, the team will follow. If they don't get engaged fully in it, the team won't do it.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of because it's the things that we can all do. But I think related to the team and the way if team is doing it or not, it's psychology. It's not actually the strategy. It's more like psychology because we all have different reasons why we are doing posting or not posting, right? Or we have a different kind of blocks in our head why we are not able to do it or no. And I like what you said that you have this buddy system and support inside the company so you can share a post with somebody so they can check it out, and basically you create kind of the excitement right before they even post, because I love the post, we work on it together, so I'm gonna react to it, I'm gonna share it with others, those kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And I think it's important that there are obviously a lot of reasons. So, for instance, when someone starts creating, or when someone thinks that they should start creating content on LinkedIn, one of the first thing is that you're always thinking, okay, what should I talk about? So there are some basics that you need to get through and understand that, okay, you don't need to be an expert to create content on LinkedIn. No matter what you do, you can actually document your journey of your everyday life. If you, let's say, if you had a big account that you suddenly got into your company, and then you want to talk about what was the process of getting that account, what were the different kind of the decision makers that you had to go through, what was your strategy. So even if you list different things of what you do in your work life and document that and share that on LinkedIn, that's already a lot of great value for many people out there. So that's what we try to focus, that we try to create, and this is not just for the people inside Shield. We try to create a lot of content on our blogs which is trying to educate everybody who's attempting to create content on LinkedIn as to how you can navigate the system, how you can decide the topics that you should talk about, how you should focus on specific audiences and not talk to everybody, and all of these small things. And maybe also there is the aspect of fear that is completely, we cannot overrule it. It's the most important, like, biggest reason that we hear as to why people don't post is because they fear the public opinion, or they fear what would their connections think, or what would people that they're already connected with, what would they feel about their content. So I think one has to get over that, and it only happens naturally and organically.
Yeah, that's so true because you know to be able to actually grow, we need to be comfortable with not every people think the way we think, or we don't have the same opinion as everybody else have. We need to become comfortable with that, and we do it only when we get different people, different feedback. And if we got different feedback, it means that we are changing somebody's perspective, right? Because people feel threatened in a way, and they respond to it. But I want to emphasize one thing that I'm hearing. So it all started with Andreas, who had the specific mindset and behavior, and basically I guess this is what has driven all of you to the company. That's how the team was formed, right? It started with his narrative, with his mindset, and then you all fit into it.
Absolutely. No, of course, and it's a privilege almost to have a team where the leader is living the life, in the sense that Andreas puts himself out there. And I remember back, even a year back, when he had a much smaller audience, I would see him spend so many hours replying to comments, engaging with everybody, replying to DMs, and he does that even now. So for him, when he posts something, replying to comments is the most important thing. And those are things we see ourselves, someone else doing, and then seeing the results. And that's why when we do them, we can also see the results right away. So for instance, it's like, there are days when I don't post content, but I make sure that I go and engage with others, go into the comments, reply, leave something, an opinion, etc. And that really helps, because when you're replying to a comment, or when you're commenting on someone else's content, you're essentially having a direct conversation with them. And that's really the gold mine, as I say, that the gold is in the comments, in the threads. And yeah, so it's a pretty straightforward thing, that it doesn't matter what's your objective, what industry you work in, or what's your role. But there is always people out there that you could learn from, and that's what LinkedIn kind of provides.
Yeah, comments are gold. I mean, basically, you can see there if you are going towards the right thing, if your opinion matters or no, if people are excited about the topic, you can find out lots of stuff. And also like DMs, for me, it's the number one place right now out of all the channels. So LinkedIn DMs, where actually the sales is happening. But like I'm mentioning this because there are so many people that have never sent at least a message to say hello to their connections,
Yeah.
and there are lots of people who have built followers, but they have never got into interactions with them. And there's a pure gold hidden over there, because you're going to get feedback on your content, you're going to find friends, you're going to find clients, all kind of different things.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting you say that, because there is a lot of people who are creating content on LinkedIn, and the number keeps growing every day. And yet, I mean, if I have to think about myself, it's very rare that I get a connection request and then get a DM, which is like, wow, that was nice. So it's very rare that you get surprising and nice DMs. So it's still a place which is very new in that sense, and where you can instantly see if the person has been really reading what you're saying, and it understands what you're talking about, and then genuinely makes an effort to write something.
Yeah, I guess we are still overcoming that period when there were lots of spammers. Maybe there are today, I don't know, or I cleared
Yeah.
uh, people who are sending me connection requests. But what I like to do, I like to not send a message to people I connect with for 2 weeks or a month. Sometimes it gets even longer depending on the work that I have. And then basically they have a chance to consume the content. I have a chance to consume their content. When I reach out, I just say, hey, I just wanted to say hi, nothing else, and then we get into the conversation, or we, go in different directions, doesn't matter. But if somebody likes my content, in 80% of the people send me a message like, hey, I love your content. Hey, I watched the podcast episode. I watched those kind of stuff. And it's interesting to know that. But I want to get into different direction, because um, we're talking about LinkedIn because we started with organic, because organic is still strong on LinkedIn. We can compare it to TikTok, which is, I think, in a different category. The LinkedIn is a business platform, and I think it's focused on relationship and making each other better. I mean, that's the whole mission of the LinkedIn, and that's why I think they keep organic reach going up. But look, like if somebody asked me about Shield, I would mention, I know a couple of people who are active from the company. I know what the company does, but I had no idea that you had blog post over there, right? So you're developing that on the side, and it's meant for different things. Not everything is meant to be shared on one channel. So, to actually build the word of mouth, you need to have different kind of content meant for different channels.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And I think the reason why we create a lot of educational content on our blogs is primarily to educate our own customers. So when we send out communication to people saying that, okay, you wanted to know why should you invest time on building your personal brand. So here are 10 good reasons why you should do that. So our content is designed for anybody. You don't have to be a Shield customer to read our blog, right? Anybody can go in and read the blog, but it's designed to help anybody who wants to grow on LinkedIn. And like you said, that not every channel of communicating with somebody, whether it's LinkedIn, or it's, like you said, TikTok, or if it's YouTube, you don't have to always talk about the same message in the same way. So you can break your messages into different kind of different fitted differently to make it relevant for the platform. So for instance, if on LinkedIn you just keep saying, okay, this is my service, this is what I sell, here, click here to go and buy. I mean, I don't think many people will be interested if you keep repeating the same message. But if you say that, okay, this is what I do, and these are the problems that I faced, and is there anybody who has a solution for something like this? Or I had this problem, I was trying to build a campaign, it failed in these 3 points, and these are my learnings. So when you start talking as a professional, sharing your knowledge, sharing things that you know, asking for advice, that's when the real conversations start happening. So for instance, I think one thing with Shield is that a lot of people share their LinkedIn stats. They say that, okay, in 1 year, these are the number of views I've got, these are the number of conversation, and this is what I've learned. So when people share that, it's not to say that, oh, look at all the amazing work I'm doing, but they're always sharing it with the perspective of sharing the information that they've acquired in the journey of being a creator. And those are the interesting things, that when we build as marketeers at Shield, when we build campaigns, we're always trying to tell our customers to share the information that they get in the process of this whole thing of creating content and seeing what happens out at the end of it. And
Yeah,
that's what's kind of helps us with our word of mouth.
yeah, I want to emphasize that because, like, inside Shields, you always have these kind of small messages or encouraging people to do something like share your stats. Like, now is the end of the year, it's time to see how has the last year been. Check out your stats and share it with your audience, tag us so we can actually comment, so we can go. And I think those are some small things that lots of people are underestimating the power of it, because basically you are trying to engage people with your tool and with the content they can create with a tool.
Absolutely. And also it's interesting because what you can essentially do with Shield is, apart from the fact that you can look at your stats and you can look at your numbers, you can also go back and look at all your old content and say, let me see the post that got the maximum content, and you can sort it by content, and then you can assess why is it that that post got so many people to talk to you. So maybe there was something in the call to action in the CTA of your post. Maybe there was something in the hook that you said that got people's attention. So it's an easy way for people to repurpose content, etc. And those are the learnings that we see ourselves. And we as people who work at Shield, I also use Shield for my own content, right? So things that I learn, I try to put that into campaigns to teach others who are our customers. Then that, okay, this is how I'm using Shield, and maybe you can use it in the same way. Maybe it helps you as well. I mean, even if I talk about the way we demo future customers, people who are interested in Shield, we're always only talking about how we as users use Shield, or how it helps us, and that's the easiest way to show someone how to use something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember like, if we didn't have Shield back in the days, we started working with a startup. Um, I can shout out to the guys, User Guiding, startup from Turkey, really nice team and everything. And we called it Funky Marketing, Funky LinkedIn Accelerator, basically. And when they started to post, lots of things happened in the first week because they already had built the audience and everything. So, like, I don't know, the CEO got into conversation with a potential investor. The CEO got into conversation of hosting the workshop for Google Docs team. Like, lots of stuff happened in the first week or two, and besides all those obvious things, when somebody reached out to them, we could follow the analytics, so we can see, this post got that much engagement, this post got that much. And when they see it's like 5 people from the company, it creates the power that they the trust increases into what you are doing with them. And basically, you get more freedom to try things out, to test things out. And I mean, I think the same way it works if you look at the personal perspective, because you get more encouraged when you can see that some things that you are doing are working or not working. You need to abort it all, right?
Absolutely. No, and I think what you said, especially when teams use the platform, it's so interesting, because you can then suddenly see that even if there are 3 people in your company, let's say, who are really active on LinkedIn, and you put all of their stats together, suddenly you see that, okay, 3 people can make a big impact. So for instance, at Shield, we are a small team, but I think this year alone, we've crossed 13 million views with just our content ourselves. That means that that content has been around and seen by so many people. So many people have just seen my name and then seen Shield. So you're raising instant brand awareness for your brand so that when that customer needs you, they know that, oh yeah, I've heard this name before, and it's not a complete a new thing that they've never heard before. So I think it's super. It really helps personal brands for a company perspective really help you kind of raise, like you said, you can raise capital if you're a founder, and if you're creating content, you can really raise capital because you can put your content in front of the right VCs, in front of the right people. You can recruit so much better. Like, it's so easy for us to recruit at Shield because we know that people have already heard about us. There is so much information. They can go on all of these our profiles, whether it's mine, Filippo's, Andreas, or Juan, other people in the team. They can see what we are talking about, and they get a feel of the culture, and it makes it so much easier to recruit really top quality talent for us. And of course, it's so much easier to sell, especially the selling bit. There is absolutely no denying that if you have a personal brand and you're talking about which you're talking about and really nurturing, that there is no idea of a cold email, because the first time someone hears your name, it's not going to be the first time. They've already seen you on LinkedIn.
Yeah. I mean, we underestimated the power of the brand and creating awareness when we are doing sales, where we are doing outreach. It's basically starting not from the minus or from zero, is starting from the plus. Because when you reach out, they either know the person or they know the company. Like I had this. I was a guest on a podcast, and the guy told me that when he receives the cold outreach email, he looks at the URL. And like if he sees Drift or Shield, for example, or Funky Marketing, he knows them, he will open it. If he sees something else, he won't even look at the headline. And it's interesting how things work. So tell me, when we are already talking about this stuff, what do you measure when it comes to word of mouth marketing, organic marketing, or what do you think it should be measured?
I think, of course, a lot. The kind of the cornerstone is that you should always measure revenue impact and change in revenue. So, because word of mouth is very difficult to attribute per se, because you don't know who's seen what content and waited for how long and then come back because they've already heard about you. So of course you have the easiest way is to ask a new customer, where did you hear about us? That would be the easiest, most direct way. But I think, yeah, to see every time you launch a new campaign, to see that, okay, is there a direct revenue growth if you're trying to do something that is to grow your business, get new customers. If you're trying to retain customers, then of course you measure if there is you're able to retain customers, if there's more churn, less churn. So I think very easy, it has to be very project specific depending on what kind of campaign are you running. And then of course you measure something that is not just, I mean, I think open rate, click rate, these are great things to measure, especially if you, let's say, talk about email marketing. But at the end of the day, people are opening and clicking, but they're not converting as customers. So how good is that? And I'm not saying open rate is nothing, right? It's like saying views are nothing. If nobody is going to open my email, nothing is going to happen after that. So of course there has to be a benchmark that you say, in my campaign, I'm sending out these many emails, there has to be an open rate of X. But that's not what you should be awarded for. So that's the only thing I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I agree. I was I abandoned my email list for 2 months or something like that. I think I feel bad about it. But yesterday I sent an email. I said, okay, sorry for that. I'll be back, and uh, I'm gonna try to give you, an overview of the podcast episode and what's the value in it, and kind of give you the unique perspective of why we are doing what we are doing. And lots of people opened email, but only two clicked, and I'm like, okay, let's try a couple of more times, and then if it's not happening, let's figure out what we're going to do. Because I need to see if those people are actually the right audience that wants to listen to the podcast or something like that, or they just want to consume the content or to get more educated. But if that's the case, then you need to set up also the deadline till which date you're going to educate them, because maybe they are just not the right fit and you need to eliminate a couple of them. Like lots of stuff to discuss over there.
And I think this is where it's so important that you know the art of storytelling, which is also important for creating content from, let's say, a personal profile on a LinkedIn, is also equally applicable for, let's say, creating an email campaign. That if you're not
Mhm.
able to tell a story in a way that someone wants to read that email, then people are not going to read it first. Second, they're not going to click all of these links. So you cannot stuff links there and say, okay, here are the 30 links, places where you can find us, click, click, click. Obviously not. What I try to do is I always try to ask myself, will I open this email and will I want to click? What is it that I can say? How can I word my sentence? And
Mhm.
in the least possible words that create the most impact. So for me, it's very important that when we work on email campaigns at Shield, that it's an email that I want to read to start with, and then only my customers would want to read them. So the storytelling and especially the copywriting part of an email is so critical that I feel like sometimes people are just not, they're still sending out campaigns with the hope I find you well, and with like the first 5 lines with completely no information, and then somewhere at the bottom, nobody's going to scroll all that. If your email is not fitting in the size of a phone, forget about it.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I have seen, different lengths working differently, coming from performance marketing. Like, it's kind of interesting. Like, if you look at the, ClickFunnels guys and everything. Like, when I started learning more about email marketing, I got into that, and then like I was the director of operations in the company, but I was still learning about email marketing. So the CEO Dimitria told me, like, let's use this from a book. I don't know which one of the ClickFunnels books it was, but it was a great book, and it has, all what you put in the PS, how you structure and everything. And I wrote it, and he said it's too long for Serbian market. It works in the US. In Serbia it won't work, and other stuff, because he is sending a bunch of emails and he knows the audience better. And it's kind of, also, do you know your audience? What do
Absolutely.
you know that works for them? Those kind of stuff. And then it's just like, does the headline make somebody open the email? Does
Absolutely.
the copy leads to them clicking the CTA? Does the name of the CTA is the right way for them to click, and go
Absolutely.
on and on? And it's just, what's the next thing? And it's just like marketing and selling. I like to do that. That's why I call it like relationship centric marketing, because it's basically creating relationship in each step of the way and making them do just enough to get to the next step.
And I completely agree with you. You said that, especially about the length of the email. So, for instance, we had this campaign that we did where you would have seen a lot of screen people sharing the emails that we sent to some of our customers, super personalized emails, recapping on their behalf their 1 year on LinkedIn 2021. And
Hmm.
these emails took a lot of time, and they were long emails, but it was told, the story was told in such a way, and it was so personalized. It was saying that, okay, Pragya, you got these many views. This is how you started. When you started the year, you had these many followers. At the end, you actually got to this much. These are the kind of posts you made. These are the number of times you posted. And this is the frequency you posted at. So it kind of gave me an overview of my entire year without me having to go into Shield or look at anything, just with an email. So despite the fact that it was long, it kept building the excitement for that person to keep reading that email, and we got a lot of praise for that. I think it is because you have to understand, one, who you're talking to always, and what is it that you're trying to communicate with them. So short emails are good for certain kind of campaigns, but
Yeah.
then maybe there is another kind of campaign where you have to do a long email because people want to read more about what you're saying. So 100% aligned with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of situations we can go into all kind of things related to that topic. I mean, also what so many companies miss is like having the couple of introduction emails when they subscribe to your newsletter, because people just add them to the stream and they go with the new ones, But what about the basics? Who are you? I just subscribe because I like one document, or I have read one article or something like that. But I want to say, I got once into the situation where I didn't know if people find value in our emails, in our newsletter, because it was going back and forth. We were experimenting a lot. Like, we had Martin and Linda writing the email. Linda is writing 1 week, Martin another one, and then they took over their story like Linda is taking over Martin's story and continuing in the next newsletter, those kind of stuff. And you can see the different vibes in the email and those kind of stuff. And like, I just asked the people at one moment, hey guys, do you actually find value in this? This is the email, just, respond to this, Sammy. And I receive response like, I don't want ever to stop receiving this email. And I was like, okay, that's the only thing that I needed, basically.
No, and it's absolutely what you're saying is right. That sometimes when, as marketers, we are building a campaign, we are so into that we are not able to get out of it and have like an overview and kind of see that, okay, is this really adding value to the customer or to the person that I'm talking to, or is it just adding value in my head? So it's important to be objective, and that's one of the things that I really appreciate, that in my time here at Shield, I really learn it almost every single time we have a big campaign. That I've learned from Andreas is to be able to kill our darlings. We say that no matter how much you've worked on something, if you realize at a point that, okay, this is not what is needed, you should be able to kill whether it's a part of the project or worst case scenario, even a full project. That there are times when you have to say, okay, this is it, this is not working, or this is not going to see the light of the day. So it's important to stay objective and not just get so deep into a project that you're not able to see if it's really making any sense to the audience or to the business.
Totally agree. So I have a question that I want to ask you about the channel that we didn't talk about, and it's also related to organic. It's YouTube. I know you are started to build the momentum over there, and like we are right now started to think about building a momentum, because like we have 400 videos and not many views or subscribers, because we didn't think about it as growing it. So now I'm like, what's wrong with this? Let's analyze all the stuff and, get all into the YouTube SEO, those kind of stuff. But I want to ask you, how are you thinking about YouTube, and what are you using that channel for?
So right now, I think it's very nascent. It's just recently that we've kind of like started with YouTube. So it's a part of something that you will see a lot more from Shield already, starting end of quarter two. Already you will start seeing a lot more video content from us, because that's a big focus for me this year. And what's interesting about, and especially YouTube, is such a powerful place to get audience. It's where I consume most of my content. If I want to learn something, the first place you go to is on YouTube, and you actually type what you want to learn, and then you find the relevant content. So any kind of educational content that we're doing on a blog in some way really needs to exist on YouTube today.
Yeah.
And that's what we are going to be working towards. That, for instance, even in our end of year stats campaign, there was a video that we made, which was a super YouTuber style, that, oh my God, with the signs coming in and all of that. And I think it's fun because you're able to put a face to a company. You're able to tell a story through the medium of video, where the person can just sit down and listen and watch and read, instead of having to actually read a whole blog, etc. It's a different way of consuming content, which is the primary way people are consuming content today. So there is no way, especially in this industry, that people can leave YouTube and say that it's not a relevant channel, or if it's for certain industries and not applicable for certain others. That's just not true anymore. So yeah, we are going to do a lot of more educational content on YouTube.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I think we are on the same mission. And I had Mike Vinette here a couple of episodes ago, and for those who don't know, he was one of the guys that got the huge exposure on LinkedIn, but got banned. Now he's on Twitter, he's on YouTube and other channels. And I asked him, where did his revenue come when he didn't have LinkedIn? And he said it's YouTube. It's the content that he was creating over there. The 2 videos got him all the revenue in the last 2 years. And that's how powerful it can be. One video can actually get you customers for forever.
Absolutely.
There's no end. And what's interesting is I didn't think about those things at all. I mean, I know it obviously, but I needed to get somebody to kind of look at our channel and tell me, why are you not doing this? Why are you, just like I'm doing with a client. And that's I realized, there are some tools that we can use to increase it. There are some tools that we can use to see, how many people are looking for this on Google, how many people are looking this on YouTube, because now YouTube becomes the search engines that can make you be more visible on Google as well, because it appears
Absolutely.
on Google.
No, absolutely, and I think it's exactly what you said, that it's a distribution channel that is so critical. It's already been important for a while, and it's just going to keep becoming more and more important. And it is how people are learning things today.
Yeah.
Therefore, we all have to do better on YouTube, starting with me. But exactly that's what we want. But that's what we're going to do this year.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I was always recording videos, for example, for LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever. Everything that I put out on LinkedIn, I put also YouTube. But I didn't think about the search engines and the way, each channel is different. When we say it, okay, but sometimes we forget about it. And
Absolutely.
there was one 2 months, I think, in 2018 or something like that, when I recorded 60 videos, 60 10-minute videos in 2 months, in a little bit more than 2 months, because like a couple of days I took a break. But it's interesting when you persistently create content, you see how the views are going up or down, how the reach is performing, those kind of stuff. And I think, going back to organic marketing, I think we need to persistently create content and do things for at least like 3 months to see if it's really giving results or no. So the long term
Absolutely.
mindset.
No, it's organic is not a short term. You can't just say that, okay, I'm going to make one post on LinkedIn, I'm going to make one post on Twitter, I'm going to write a tweet,
Nothing
and
happened. Why?
one,
Like,
and then suddenly, I'm going to see 100 customers coming in because of that. That is not at all the way to approach it. Organic is obviously across the distribution, whether you're talking about LinkedIn or you're talking about YouTube, you have to be persistent and you have to be consistent. So it's a long term play that you should plan for. You should have your strategy. You should know the roadblocks that you should expect in content creation, because it's not possible that you will keep creating content without any problems. There will be a time when you will be like, okay, I don't know what to talk about or write about or tweet about anymore. So you need to buffer for those, and then of course you need to persist. I would say that at least 6 months of consistent content creation is the least you need to be able to see results.
yeah. So tell me, talking about these things, I know how it is hard to do marketing in an early stage startup, because you have lots of, especially if there are investors involved, because you need to bring long term, and short term you need to show results as well. And it's basically, I like to say, you are like crucified, because you need to be on the both side. So tell me, what was the hardest thing for you when it comes to leading marketing for Shield as an early stage startup?
So of course, the easiest thing for us is that we are bootstrapped. So we don't have any investors. So please, Andreas needs to like what I'm doing, and that's about that's about it. But what is also super nice is because all of us are so involved with the work that we're doing, that we just want to be. There's many times you want to be perfect, but that's the beauty of working for a startup, that you don't have to be perfect. You can test,
Hmm.
you can release things, you can take back things, you can edit, iterate. But of course, at all points of time, you need to kind of know how is it that you want to show up in front of customers. And I have kind of become a little bit like, I feel sometimes like a guard, the brand guard, that if I don't feel this is the right quality, the Shield quality, then I don't want to release something. So there is a little bit of tussle in that, but it's just such a blast working for an early stage startup where everybody's as passionate about what we're doing. And there's so much learning every single day. Every single campaign that we do, we learn something that we can actively incorporate in the next campaign that we build. And we can see direct results of things that we do. For instance, even if it was the end of year campaign that we did last in December and January, you could instantly see people talking about it on LinkedIn and tagging you and saying, oh, I got this email from Andreas and it was so good. And you can see the results. You can see it not just in word of mouth, you can also see it in revenue. So it's very gratifying to know that what you spend your time on is impacting the life of a company. And that is the beauty of working in an early stage startup, that there is a lot of hard work, there's a lot of blood and sweat, but you can see the results for yourself every single day.
Yeah, and I guess like one thing that I also got out of it is learning so much. Like in a year you wouldn't notice, but you are becoming completely another professional. With the
Absolutely.
skills that you didn't even know that you got from it.
No, no, and this is something that actually we were, because I just it was I completed a year at Shield just a few months back, and
Nice.
I was talking to Andreas, and he's like, "You've changed so much in 1 year," and I have been working for many years before I started working at Shield. So I'd been working for 10 plus years in big corporates, big super big companies. I had never worked for such a small startup, and it's only recently that I started this. So it's mind blowing the amount of learning that you get in a short amount of time. So, of course, to anybody out there who's in marketing who wants to learn a lot, a bit painfully, because sometimes it can be too many things. But if you're ready for that, then yeah, then startups is the place to be.
Yeah, I agree. I recommend to people going when they start their career in the early stage startup, or maybe in an agency, just so they can work lots of different stuff at the same time and learn from many different examples. Like in startups, it's in agencies there are different clients, different industries. In startups, it's everybody needs to do, let's say, everything, but
Yeah,
a
that's
bit
true.
of everything.
Yeah, one
So
has
so
to do
you'll
everything.
learn.
I mean, there are times when I'm vacuuming the office. So right from that to, well, it's your, in some way, it's a part of something that you're contributing to building. So you have to own it through and through. So absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me two things. What's next for you, and what's next for Shield?
I think there's a lot of, actually, this is going to be a very exciting year for Shield, because there's a lot of, we're working on a lot of interesting things that our customers will be able to see very soon. I cannot, of course, talk about exactly what, but you will see a lot of interesting community related content coming in from Shield. We are working on a lot of interesting partnerships. We are working on some really good educational content. You will see more of us on video in YouTube, and of course, you will always find us on LinkedIn. So there's a lot of exciting things coming up at Shield. And for me, I think, yeah, doing all of managing all of these balls at Shield and kind of pushing, knowing, learning more, and talking to more people yeah, is what's ahead.
Yeah, sounds good. So and two things.
Okay.
First one is what is something? Is there something that we didn't mention that you wanted to say, or some message for the end? And second one is, where can people find you, learn more about you, about Shield, and all the stuff that you are doing?
So of course, the where can you find me? You can always find me on LinkedIn. I'm literally 24/7 always on LinkedIn. So just find me on LinkedIn. It's obviously Pragya Mishra there. And when you find me, you will find Shield as well, because you will see a lot of what I talk about is directly related to Shield as well. And maybe one more thing, like I said, is that we don't talk a lot about our blogs. It's a great place. If you go to the shieldapp.ai and you go to the blog section, it's a great place to find educational content. And if you go to our interview section, it's a great place where we tell stories about people who've done some amazing things, content creators who built legacies on LinkedIn by creating content. So if you're looking for inspiration, those are the two places I would recommend.
Sounds good. That sounds good. I need to visit the place to see, is there somebody that I don't know that have done some great stuff. That's actually a good CTA.
Amazing.
Cool. Thanks for being here. Thanks for taking time to do it. I know that you are just getting back to the full strength related to your health. But thank you for doing this. Guys, I recommend you go to the beginning of the episode as always, and go through everything that we just talked about. There are lots of stuff. We are going back and forth with different stuff. I'm sure that you will find things that can help you actually grow, either it's your startup, your company, or your personal profile organically, and create the world of mouth. And for the end, as we always say, just keep it funky until the next episode. Bye bye.